Welcome back to the Slab Lab. I am with son Leiter, cousin of Mark Jr., nephew of Mark Sr., son of Al. House of Big Leaguer. This is Jack Leiter in the Slab Lab.
With the second pick of the 2021 MLB Draft, the Texas Rangers select Jack Leiter, a right-handed pitcher from Vanderbilt University.
How were you prepared at Vanderbilt for what you were introduced to in pro ball for the first time?
First of all, thanks for having me.
Absolutely, brother.
Vandy's a special place. It's
Sure.
awesome. It's a place I still go back to often. I work out there in the off season. Love Nashville, love Vanderbilt. Love the coaching staff there. Brownie, Corbs,
is awesome,
everybody.
man.
I would say the biggest thing that I learned there is how to compete. I kind of was a stuff guy where, you know, it's a lot of swing and misses, it's a lot of foul balls, and you can end up going deep into counts and struggling to go deep into games. And that was kind of what I experienced at first at Vanderbilt, and just learning through experience on how to get deep into a game and compete and go 3-4 times through a lineup. That's something that I don't think I would have learned in the minor leagues as a high school draft pick, because you don't get the grace of
Sure.
you know, throwing 125 pitches.
Well, yeah, they're not going to let that one eat. And we'll get to your 120-plus pitch performance against old South Kakalaki in a minute. What was the first introduction to the next level of technology and the next level of how we're going to become this badass?
When me and Rock were there, it was kind of the very beginning of technology being at the forefront of college baseball.
Yep.
Coach Brown and all the guys there did a really good job of filtering it for us.
Okay.
All the numbers weren't thrown in our face. I knew what vert was, and I knew what spin rate was, and the basics. But
When did you pick up on that? When was that something that you said, you know what, I need to pay attention to this?
I would say when we first got to Vandy, they were using the Rapsodo. We had the TrackMan on the field, but for our bullpens, it was the Rapsodo, and you had the numbers there. And some of the older guys were more analytical than me as a freshman, and that's when you kind of start to learn and to filter a little bit. But like I said, Brownie did a really good job filtering, and it was, what can we do to simplify for these guys? Especially me, I'm somebody who likes to think, and he would simplify it for me, really, and then I could go out and compete freely, which I think is the most important thing, of course.
It's huge.
Later on down the line, that was an adjustment that I had to learn, and it took me quite a bit in pro ball, a couple years of filtering out the numbers myself, because Brownie did a good job of that for me.
Sure. So are there data points now that were either filtered for you that you latched onto early, or maybe there's data points now that you have discovered? Has there been a sort of revelation now that you're here, you're working through it, you're making adjustments at this level?
Yes and no. Honestly, the biggest thing for me, because as I mentioned, as a thinker, is simplifying. I was throwing a bullpen to Kurt Casale at Vanderbilt, and I threw a change up, and he said, "Good one. That's a good change up." And I looked up at the TV. We had the TV screen up with the numbers, and whatever it was like the vert was too high, or the spin rate wasn't enough, or my release height. There's so many things you could look at, and I was like, that's not what I'm looking for.
Right.
And Coach Brown made the joke. He's like, "Oh yeah, Kurt Casale hasn't seen 10
good
years,
change-ups,
10
right.
years of big league pitching." Like, I think he knows, and that was my realization in my head. Like, I'm looking at a computer screen to tell me if I liked it, when one of the better big league catchers is telling me it's a good one, and the coach tells me it's good, the catcher tells me it's good, the hitter's response tells me it's good, and my eyes tell me it's good, it's good.
Yeah.
So
We can scrap the number. We can scrap the calculator.
Yes. So honestly, that's been the biggest adjustment.
And that's where you see guys, and I've watched it happen, guys will just absolutely spike a slider, spike a heater, and they're like, yeah, but and I'm going, no, I do know, that was 53 feet. Yeah. I don't give a damn what the numbers say. That doesn't matter. But to hear a guy like Casale tell you, hey, change piece, pretty good.
Yeah.
That's got to do something for you.
Yeah, we joke about that now. It's like somebody threw a slider and it was like 24 inches of horizontal, but it's in the other batter's box. And one of the coaches goes, "A righty might swing." So then it became a joke, like, yeah, a righty might.
I love it. Well, dude, take us through the grips.
Yeah, four seam, pretty traditional. I was told like, you know, 1 finger length between, and that's kind of the gap that I choose.
Who told you that?
It was probably my dad, like way back when I was first starting to throw, and
Sure.
he always said it should be so someone can't take the ball out of your hand easy, a firm grip, but a loose wrist. That's kind of the whole whole thing of the whippiness of the wrist, but a firm grip. That's the thought on that.
And that's strike 3 called.
The 2-seam, I had a little blister problem to start this year. I was right on here. It's a new pitch for me, and I was ripping down on this seam. So instead, I just moved up after this.
So crawled up the rail a bit.
To kind of prevent the blister on the pad of that finger from coming back. And for me, that's, again, not a metrics pitch.
Sure.
I don't know what the metrics would say, but it's a location pitch to get in on a righty's hands, get away from a lefty, and get a little bit of late movement. And that's a new one for me, and I've enjoyed throwing that. Curveball, I try to choke it. I've found more success when I kind of get this thumb off of the ball, and I'm literally just thinking about digging in with that middle finger and getting on top and spinning it as much as I can.
They haven't really had to worry about the curveball, but there it is.
Slider, I'm right here. This is kind of the way my dad threw his cutter and slider. He would just go further up on that seam right there. I'm right there, and I've kind of messed with a little bit of a baby spike on that, just to get more emphasis on the middle finger. And for me, that's not a pitch I want to be sweepy. I want it to look like a fastball as much as possible, and then dive at the end. And it plays the best for me when it's on the plate down.
So you're looking for gyro.
Yep. I run into some trouble when I start trying to get miss off the plate glove side because they just see it earlier.
Pitch around. There's a swing and a miss at the sliders.
And then the changeup's a new one. The whole kick change.
There he is.
That's it right there. Kind of mess around with how much you spike it there. I just think about pressure into the middle fingertip right there.
Here we go. The thumb is what I was looking for.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kind of just comfortably underneath. I messed around with this, you know, here. I'm kind of tucking that index finger, but all I'm thinking about is the pressure here, digging into the ball. And for whatever reason, that cue, it just takes care of the axis and all the sciencey stuff that I don't know, and it makes the ball dive. So when it's right, it's been pretty good.
And there's a swing and a miss.
With the changeup, have you started to understand on a deeper level the impact of seam shift?
It's been explained to me as basically like if you put the silhouetted batter on one side, you kind of want it to face up the whole time, and then the way the air resistance reflects it, it kind of just Festa last year, I was telling him how I've tried every changeup. I've every changeup.
Done everything,
I've tried
bro.
Splitter, whatever, and it's just like I throw it too hard and it doesn't move much. And he said, "Have you tried this kick change? You know, all these people are talking about it now. Basically, you just knuckle this, and the idea behind it that he explained is like if this middle finger's playing too much of a role because it's longer than the ring finger, you kind of spike it to even out the length, and it sets the axis on what it should be." I was like, all right, I'll try it. And I played catch with it that day, and immediately it was just diving down, and I could tell from my eyes, and that's all I needed to see. I didn't need to see the numbers on it. And from that point on, I've just been messing around with it. It's a learning process.
Sure.
First live BP of spring training, I don't think I reached one to past home plate, but when it landed on home plate, they were swinging.
It's nasty.
It plays like some of the guys call it a splitter. They said it just plays like a splitter for me. So it's a fun pitch. It is.
And he strikes out swinging. And he got him. And he got him swinging.
So was there a learning curve at all coming from bandy into pro ball into the big leagues, just as a manipulator, as someone who likes to feel it?
Yeah, I mean, I would say so. I think the seam height definitely plays a role. I think, especially in the minor leagues, there was an inconsistency with the baseball itself.
Sure.
You know, from game to game, but also from ball to ball. So just not being too stubborn, and like if it didn't feel right, just get rid of it, get a new one, because sometimes the next one feels great. It's just it's
a feel thing.
It's a weird thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's part of the fun of pitching. It's
no doubt.
It's the art of pitching, is just feeling the baseball. Honestly,
well, I would say, like, I threw a screwball, and I picked a ball up in BP in junior college and threw it into the bucket and was like, what did that do? I need to do that again. So I spent like the next 3 days just hammering away at this new pitch I had found. With somebody who manipulates the baseball and somebody who's tinkering, has that led you to entertaining moving around on the rubber at all, creating different angles? Is that something that you've entertained or just maybe had conversations about?
I would definitely say so. Typically, the style of pitcher I am with the four seam and the more gyro-y slider, the curveball, the changeup that goes down, it's a north-south game that I'm playing. And you let the movement of the pitches take care of the east and west a little bit. The slider going glove side, the two seam and changeup going to the arm side. But it's the north-south that you're more worried about. That being said, the position on the rubber a lot of the time is the position that I feel best about executing from.
Okay.
For me.
Do you float? You'll float?
For now,
Incrementally?
I'm steady. I'm steady towards the third base side, and that also just kind of helps everything play. The four seam to the glove side, the slider off of that, the curveball, and the changeup stays on the plate for a while. So I like where I'm at on the rubber, but I'm not married to it. If I am a tinkerer, I remember my state championship in high school. There was a hole on one side of the rubber, so I pitched from a side that I'd never pitched on before, and
how'd that go?
It was fine. Yeah, it's
Pretty good.
Yeah, that's kind of the way I've always been. New slider, grip, and catch play. Oh, that feels great. All right, bring it to the game. Like, to me, that's the fun of pitching. You don't have to be stuck in your ways.
No, for sure. Well, you're an artist out there, and you got a palette full of different colors. Sometimes mixing those colors doesn't quite work. You're looking for red. You're looking for blue, and it's not. I got green. That's all I got. I got to work with that.
Yeah.
How have you done in terms of reading swings?
My dad was always like, what do you throw here? Oh, he was late on that heater away. What do you go here?
I love that.
And so there's the traditional rule of thumbs where you're watching from the TV or from the side and you can see it, but there really is no being out there and doing it unless you just do it.
Yes.
In high school, my pitches were called for me. In college, my pitches were called for me. So that was another adjustment of getting to pro ball and doing your homework, doing your scouting reports, and learning from hitters and learning in real time, but also knowing their weaknesses and how it matches up with your strengths. That's a huge part of it, and I think that's something that I'll probably be learning until I'm done playing.
Well, I can tell you right now, my man, there's a ton of information in the swings. There's an equal amount, if not more, information in the takes as well. So as you're going through that, are you a video guy?
Yes, yeah.
Big video guy? Because I was video every day.
I mean, I wouldn't say it's every day, but it's watching my video from my outing the day after. I like to track my execution on each pitch, see where everything's at, and then it's watching their lineup, seeing the numbers, but then also video, watching a similar right-handed pitcher pitch against that lineup who had success. I think that's been a good, helpful thing to me. You can get a little something out of everything.
Yeah, because that's kind of why I ask about video, because I'm always curious if guys have an understanding of what they're studying when you walk into that room. Do you know what you're looking for?
I think the most important thing is where can you throw your heater? Where's safe for each guy? Some guys struggle at the top, some guys bottom, in, out, whatever it might be. Some guys are really good fastball hitters, and you only get a little piece of the zone. And then from there, it's how does this guy hit sliders? How does this guy hit curveballs? How does this guy hit changeups? He doesn't see spin? Is he he's blind to the changeup? Whatever it might be. There's 3, 4, 5 guys in every lineup that there's a pretty glaring hole.
There's holes. Let's get into some of the things that you've been talking about as far as adjustments go. Everybody out there who's ever thrown a fastball would love to have happen what's happening to you right now, and we're just throwing harder now. We're just throwing it harder these days. Things have ticked up for you. Has that done anything for you as far as how you are game planning, or is it now just kind of like, buddy, I got the cape's a little longer back there. I can let this thing eat a little more.
My dad never preached chasing velocity from a young age.
And you throw 100.
And I was an undersized kid. I always had a good arm for my size, but I wasn't good enough to pitch on my travel teams. I was pitching on the side with my dad and figuring it out. Kind of just a natural progression. If you go back to my sophomore year of high school, it's like every year the fastball kind of ticks up. And I think that's a product of getting better at what I do in the weight room, taking care of my body, understanding how my body moves, and moving more efficiently. I think everything comes down to the mechanics. You hear DeGrom talk about it. He's all about getting in line. He's not doing any crazy drive line velo programs.
Right.
It's a natural progression. I think that's the way it should be. I definitely didn't go into this past off season like, I hope I throw harder next year. I need to figure out how to throw harder. That's never been a focus. And it kind of just naturally happens. But again, like, you're never going to be mad about it.
Well, no, I mean, you're walking out on the mound with the lower half of a thoroughbred, for Christ's sake. So we got a pretty good idea of where it's coming from. The slider is taking strides, leaps and bounds, I might say. This thing has become an absolute weapon for you early on. Has there been an adjustment with the pitch, whether it's grip or a cue, a thought process?
It's an execution pitch for sure, I would say. When I try to get too nasty with it, which actually happened my last outing, it's just the body gets too quick. You try to make it be a nasty slider, and then all of a sudden it's kind of, it's either up arm side or just non-competitive glove side down. And when it's executed on the plate below the zone, you kind of have a wide range to work with. You just got to get it there. And it's a hard pitch for them to lay off of, and it's obviously they're trying to be on time for the heater, so.
Have you started to manipulate that? Have you gotten comfortable with shaping that differently?
I've started messing around with backdooring it, which feels comfortable. I haven't taken it to the game on a consistent level yet in terms of backdooring it to lefties, but that's a weapon because there are some guys who kind of just check off on that in early counts and it's a free strike. Honestly, when I'm making my best fastball throws, I'm making my best slider throws. So if I want to work on my slider, it's work on the heater.
Okay.
How can I, refine my mechanics? I think the other day I was moving too quick. I was just getting jumpy. The adrenaline of first time back in a big league game in 25 days. It's like early on I almost pitched myself out of the game, and it's like you understand that, and going forward it's how do I make pitch to pitch adjustments and not inning to inning adjustments? It's all like kind of trying to level yourself up as a pitcher.
You nailed it. But you are on the right track in terms of understanding what you're after. I want to talk now about your ability to compete in the face of noise, in the face of being highly touted, early struggle. What is something that has helped you just kind of get back to the basics?
Tracking execution, focusing on execution, brainwashing yourself to fully believe that executing one pitch at a time is the only job of a pitcher, I think is the easiest way to get back to the basics. The mental ABCs of pitching, Harvey Dorfman, that was my dad's go-to, and Harvey preached execution all the time. That's been an adjustment the past couple years. After my outing, I go back and I track, fastball to righty, fastball to lefty, slider, curveball, changeup to both sides individually, 0-0 win percentage, 1-1 win percentage, and it's just a check and an X, a yes or a no, and you go back and you see, and there might be an outing where you thought it was a bad one and you executed higher percentage than the one that you thought was good.
Sure.
And honestly, that's all we can control. You can execute a perfect pitch and he hits a homer and you did your job. Maybe you didn't do your job and you threw the wrong pitch, but you at least executed the one you committed to. Or you could throw a terrible pitch, wrong pitch, wrong count, execute it terribly, and he pops it up. Put that in the back of your head. You didn't do your job. He kind of bailed you out. So it's fully process mindset, I think, is the easiest way to get back to the basics because the results are going to fluctuate.
I love to hear you talk about 0011, things that I refer to and are still referred to as the EAB chart, early ahead behind, right? And Scooble talks about it. Michael King talks about it. Like, I need to win these counts. The 1-1 count, in my opinion, the most important count in baseball. We're talking about 100, 150 points of adjusted average, success rate. There's so much that goes in to just winning that count. Let's have some fun. You know what it's like to blank a team. You know what it's like to surrender no hits. Jackie, we were oh so close. We were oh so close. First batter of the game, taking you back to college, South Carolina. Buddy, I mean, no hitters are cute. What are you thinking after 7 innings? 8 innings? Are you even going back to that first at bat? Are you thinking about that first at bat?
In the moment, no. In the moment, it's, again, trying to simplify it. Just make a pitch. I remember being in the dugout at Vandy as early as probably the 5th inning of that game and looking up, and instead of like the, don't even think about it, like I would look up and see the 0 hits, and then I would look back down and be like, just make a pitch. I just kept saying, just make a pitch, one at a time. I'm pretty sure every punch out I had that game was on a heater. So it was just one of those days where, for whatever reason, they weren't seeing it.
Because it's 100, Jack. That's why.
So I mean, yeah, one of those special days, and obviously you got to experience it at the highest level.
I had one good day at work, my friend. You have several good days at work ahead of you. Who was the poster on the wall for you? Somebody that you could gravitate towards, somebody that you felt like either, you know what, this dude is like me, I want to be like him.
Yeah, so we lived in South Florida until I was in 5th grade, and I loved Jose Fernandez. I mean, my dad played for 4 teams, but at the time he was done playing, I considered myself a Marlins fan, and when it was Fernandez's day, I was watching. I loved watching Sonny Gray. I love the Vandy guy.
I was going to say, you're out there with Sonny too, right?
Yes.
I mean, he's out there. He goes back to Vandy. That was something that I loved about the culture that Corb had created there. Is he said that right away. He was like, I encourage these guys to come back. I want them to come back. They make such an impact. I'm sure that was like having big league pitching coaches lined up every offseason.
Yeah. During the COVID spring, we had classes online.
Yes.
And Coach Brown would text me and a few other guys when Sonny was throwing his bullpens, getting ready to go to spring training.
Come on, boys.
And I'd be lying if I said I wasn't doing class while watching a Sonny Gray bullpen.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
His bullpens are fun to watch.
Have you talked to him about manipulating? Because Sonny was a dude who, and I loved it. It drove me insane at the same time. Sonny is out here trying to throw pitches that he's never even thrown in a bullpen. Has that been, have you kind of tapped into his crazy brain when it comes to that as a manipulator?
Yeah, and it is a crazy brain.
It's a crazy brain. I love me some Sonny, man.
His routines are awesome. I try to ask him all the questions without getting too annoying in the off seasons, but I like to learn from the best whenever I can. We've got some great ones here, and it's fun to just talk pitching, see how the processes differ, see how they're the same. And Bueller was another one. He didn't tell me, but I heard a story that in Omaha, he started going over his head on his windup in Omaha because he heard a stat that 75% of Hall of Famers went over their head or something. And
I'm going to the Hall, baby. Cooperstown, here we come.
Yeah, I think it's just when you're in that zone pitching, it's just if it feels right, you do it.
What are we doing en route to preparing to take the ball and get on the bump?
I like my sleep. I try to get to bed at a reasonable hour the night before, wake up early enough to eat breakfast.
Sure.
Because for a while, early in the minors, that was another thing I learned, have to eat breakfast. I was sleeping in too late. So eat breakfast. If there's any kind of scouting thing I want to touch up on, by then I've kind of done all my homework. That's test day. You've kind of done all your studying, but yeah, some of the last minute looks, if the lineup's been sent out, then you could kind of look through that. I am a big visualizer.
Love that.
There's no set time of day that I do that, but I do like to visualize. That's become an execution thing for me. My visualization, it's executing my pitches, a fastball down and away to a righty, the two-seamer into a righty, slider off of that, kind of tunneling it. The thoughts of execution, it used to be just dominating, just fastball, curveball, whatever. Yeah. And I also like to visualize some adversity now, which is something that I've added in the last year or two.
Really?
Yeah, it used to be just visualize a perfect inning, dominate, whatever it is. Now I like to visualize some traffic on the bases. You don't execute a few pitches, how are you going to respond? Step off the back of the mound, deep breath, reset, whatever that reset might be. The positive self-talk that goes into, eliminating an inning from spiraling. All of those things are something that no pitcher wants to prepare for, but why not? You got to prepare for the good and the bad.
No, brother, you are preaching to the choir. I love every bit of what you're putting down right now. You get one pitch. Scrap that, and you can pick that pitch up from anybody else in the big leagues. Has to be that same pitch. So if you want their fastball, we're ditching your fastball. Don't know why you do that. If you want another pitch, what is it, whose is it, and why?
I mean, I got to go with a DeGrom slider. Yeah, it's.
I think you're the third person that has said the DeGrom slider.
It's the lame answer because it's the easy answer. It's fresh on the mind. Watched him throw last night, and it's just. Yeah, it's a thing of beauty. You're even seeing it from the dugout. It's you see the depth on it, and then you look up, and it's 90, 91.
Yeah, trust me. I've been watching it up there going, this is, okay, all right, this is how tonight's going to be. As soon as you let the first one go and it was 90 and it was missed by 2.5 feet, I was like, well, this could be a long evening. This could be long.
Yeah, so that's an easy one, I think.
Favorite ballpark to pitch in so far?
I liked Seattle. I thought Seattle was cool. I pitched there in relief last September, and it was one of those kind of late games. Neither of us were out of it, so it was an exciting kind of playoff atmosphere. That September weather, and it was a cool atmosphere. But there's some that I'm really excited for. We got Fenway coming up. We got
That's going to be great.
The Yankees coming up. So I'm a Northeast guy, so I haven't thrown.
I understand your soft spot, and Jack, it's okay to say that you like Seattle because it's massive and it's cold and it's sea level and the ball doesn't fly. That's why I was a big fan of Seattle, because I could take my 85 up there and challenge anybody and feel pretty good about it. As you start to work your way through this sophomore season here, what is something that you need to do to take your game, as you've talked about, to the next level, to level up? And it can be one thing, it can be a collection of things, but what is your focus on in terms of this is how I am going to continue to become the dude?
I think it comes down to being able to slow the game down. The more I can slow the game down, the more I can think through at bats, the more I can read through swings, like I said, and the more I can physically slow myself down.
Sure.
First weekend of the year, Boston, I felt like I sped up at times, for all the adrenaline, the juices flowing. Adrenaline is
It's real.
quite a
It's
drug.
a hell of a drug.
Yeah,
It's a hell of a drug.
The next start, Cincinnati, I felt like I slowed it down. I was thinking through every single pitch, thinking through if I shook, I knew exactly what I was shaking to get to, and that's a cool place to be in. It felt like I could throw any pitch in any count. That's where I strive to be. And the blister flared up, and 25 days later I'm on the mound this past weekend, and I felt like things sped up again. And there were times where you're still kind of catching up from the last pitch.
Sure.
You're not fully in the moment. This pitch, execute. I know exactly what I want to throw, how I want to do it. That's a cool place to be when you slow it down. So I think if I can continue to slow it down, I can sleep at night. I did my job.
I think you'll be just fine, man. The pitch timer has made that very difficult because we quite literally have a finite amount of time for us to slow things down. So the ability to slow things down, you are on the clock.
Yeah,
so don't run out of time.
You got to slow it down quick.
Don't run out of time on the mound. We are out of time here, Jack. But, brother, I can't thank you enough. Again, I know fans have been very excited about what we've had on deck with you. I think just being able to give them the insight, because you go from being the juggernaut you were at the collegiate level, being the stud you were, and we understand what the struggle was like, but we all understand what the future looks like. And, buddy, I should probably have glasses on. It's that bright. Thank you for the time.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Welcome to the Slab Lab, big dog.
Thank you.
We gone.